Hello, good evening. Welcome. My name is Obindako. Welcome. I want to share with you today a very long topic living in this hegemony as an African. It is colonial, cultural, educational, it is religious. How do you keep your peace, your vision, and your momentum? It is a long topic. Maybe my English master didn't do his good job, or I was not a good student, maybe. But there are very few Africans who are very much concerned about Africa in terms of the fundamental issues that can improve our continent, in terms of what can be done so that the next generation of Africans can be different. If you look around the world, it appears to me that only Africans are the ones who continuously push themselves into acceptance, when everybody else tags Africans or Africa, and they are very much comfortable when you start to describe Africa as poor, dejected, sick, backward, entertaining, things like that, problematic, civil war, hunger. They talk about globalization, they talk about the world economy, but they don't see Africa as part. We are the ones who are trying to push for acceptance. When it comes to serious things around the globe, I don't see us as part. When they talk of G8 summit and all those G8 or those things that they describe, or even if you look for countries where you can just pick your passport and move around, the word is classy, the word is classified, the word is it's in class, and majority of Africans don't even worry about these things. Have you ever been in a discussion with your friends, with a group of people, where you ask critical questions, you ask deep, thoughtful questions, and the answers you get is, why do you worry so much about some of these things? They can never be changed. We are not the ones to work on these. Jesus is coming. The Bible says when the end time is coming, these things will happen. I am not Jesus. I'm no prophet. But I am a bit concerned when I look around the world and I see the people who look like me and the way they think, the pain that they live with, the way they've been programmed and conditioned to look at the world, even if they are being handled and more treated, they don't even see it. It is called hegemony. Living in somebody's world. And then you see some of these Africans who look very much collected and educated, classy, who are in perpetual expression of frustration of the African condition. They act as if they understand the problems, that they are also a victim of the same things that have conditioned yourself and that have conditioned myself as well. And so a lot of Africans are expressing deep inferiority complex, and they act intellectual, and they specialize in bashing Africans and dehumanizing Africa. A lot of their these expressions, they look Africans, they carry Africans, they even hold our flags, they wear suit and tie, but they are the product of the same culture, education, religion, the colonial hegemony. So they act like they understand. They talk like they know. But one thing that is evident is that when they are talking, you can see the frustration and their inability to identify the fundamentals of the problems that we meet as a people. And that's where you know that they are also victimized. That's that. And when you see their frustration, you hear them all the time. They talk about, oh, Africa is late 300 years. The world is above Africa. Why we have difficulty? We are the poorest continent. We are backward. We are this, we are that. They may be right. But where they are wrong is their frustration without identifying the problems and without doing anything about what has to be done to change the situation. So it's a complex situation. It's a complex scenario as an African. And sometimes I look at our people, and I am pained. I am pained not because we are not capable. I'm pained because the very people who should be doing something about our situation don't even know that they are not well tuned to handle our situation. So hegemony is where there is domination, when there is influence or authority over another group of people, especially by one political group or class of society over another one. It's more of dominance. It's a social dominance. So if you look around the world, the people who came to colonize us, they left a lot of things. They left us to see the world from the way they see us, or from the way they see the world. They left their religion for us. They left their clothes and their names, their food. They left the education. And most dangerously, they left their kind of governance system to force the people who were never ready to handle this kind of system. So they left democracy. And they don't even practice this democracy as we do. And so if you're an African and this is how they have programmed your mind. Now you're a doctor, you're a professor, you talk about philosophy, but you're frustrated about the situations of Africa. And you have not even taken time to even study it. And what are you going to even study it with when you are just using the same tools that they gave us? So it's hegemony. And you see it expressed in the confusion, in the frustration. Now, the thing about it is that we were all born into it. I was born into it, you've been born into it. There is little that we can do to reverse everything. I don't think that we can go back to reverse everything. But we just have to learn how to live in these complexities and develop as a people, as an individual, become successful with your life, and keep the momentum, keep your peace, and keep your vision. There's a lot that you have to put together to really keep going. Because the people that you're dealing with who look like you, the content of the education or the content of the information or the content in their head is very much foreign. Sometimes the other ones who don't look like us are even more understanding than those people who look like us. Okay? So Africans have been wounded and traumatized by the complex upbringing that we have had. The culture, the religion, the education, the political environment that we met. We live in with a lot of questions not answered. When I was growing up, they were talking of, mosquito, malaria. That's taking over 30 years now. We're still talking about the same mosquito, malaria, the same kind of things. When I was growing up, they were talking of graduate unemployment. The same thing. GBC1, my grandfather would put it on GBC1. They will be speaking English and speaking some other languages. It's the same content. Now, my submission is not to say that we are weak people or we are disadvantaged. No, My submission is to let you know that these are the complexities, and you have to find a way of living in them, and keeping your momentum, keeping your peace, and daring to be successful in spite of all the things that we identify around us. One of the things is that our culture is still very much upgraded, and we largely prioritize activities above our people. That is a culture that is not much civilized. Okay, it's not a bad word, just to mean that we place a lot of things above our people, because what we came to meet, they place a lot of things above us, so we just inherited it. So you take the police, for instance, the history of the police forces, that they pick people who they could just brutalize their people. Now, all around the world, maybe if you look like them in terms of skin, they treat you fairly well. Even in the so-called civilized world, in the West, the police has to be nice, isn't it? They have to treat the people fairly. Their government would have to talk to the people fairly. The people have been trained to talk to people well. Now ours, the people who left the system, did not teach us to prioritize our people. We were taught to look at positions and respect positions, and even respect possessions, but not respect humans. And so our culture is still, if you look at our chieftaincy culture, it's the same. We raise one individual above everybody else, and we don't even give respect. We don't talk to people respectfully. We there's a class in terms of even male and female. Look at how we think about women, how we think about children. It's a culture that we have not placed a lot of pressure on to value people and to give priority to people. Now, until we start to do that, the culture is still not that much regenerated. They left an educational system that only taught us how to read and write. And then they feathered it into the university. They still had to read and write, because we still finish these universities and come to defend how masterful those who colonize us are. How we still look at the world from their point of view. Go to any of the universities and talk to any lecturer and tell them why they are not doing a lot of research, and their first point is that there is no funding. And their first option of funding is to write to some European universities, American fellows, for funding. Why? They live in a hegemony. We live in that hegemony. It is painful, it is tough, it's frustrating. If you so hope that this continent must develop, if you so hope that your people must see some kind of dignity, if you so desire that we should live above this level of standard of living, if you so hope like that, and you so believe, because a lot of them, because of the enormosity, of the problems that confront us as a people, most of our intellectuals really have given up on any prospects for us to develop. They're just living or looking for their self-development, major level. That's why when you find any of them heading any institution, they only fight for their self-interest. Only. Recently, have you been listening to the news where people who have gone to school, who are heading critical positions, or who were heading critical positions, just go there and they just maneuver their way for money for themselves? It's not because they are evil. It's because they are living the hegemony. They're living in a dominance that they are not even aware. So they are living separated from the pain of their people. They live in a script that they have no idea that they are living. This hegemony is seen in our names. It's seen in our appreciation for fair skin. Do you know how many people bleach? Bleach. Even men bleach, because they don't want to be dark. because all their lives they have seen movies, and their sense of beauty is for you to be fair. And the more white you look, the more intelligent you are. That's the kind of script that they have given us. It's somebody's dominant culture that you have put on us. It's painful, it's struggling, it's traumatic. But what can we say? We just have to know. Because until you know or you have identified the problem, you have no idea what to do to solve it. But at least, just be aware that we just live in this hegemony. So you see how people are very much enthused and infatuated with long hair. That's part of the hegemony. You see how happy we are to put on suit and tie even when the temperature is around 35. And we call it formal dress. It's formal. It's part of the hegemony. Am I saying that they are not good or they are bad? I dare not say that. I'm just saying that we are exhibiting, a lot of our choices are just exhibiting this kind of script that they dumped on us. So, the names. You see how much love you have for foreign education? How much love you have for foreign education. Even in our own country, we have people sending their children to American curriculum and British standard. Education is you getting an enlightenment to come and solve the problems of our society. Now, if you get British kind of education, British sense of history, British sense of the world and how it is looked, and you come to live in an economy like ours, in a culture like ours, and you are a Ghanaian, what are you going to solve for us? And so you see that we have a lot of PhD holders from all these top universities around the world, and we're still grappling with the problems. Because it's a hegemony. Because we've been told that there's Ivy League kind of university somewhere. There's some top class university somewhere. So the more I speak like a British man, the more I speak like an American man, it means that I'm very much enlightened. Then I ask myself, when we send Ghanaians to India, when they come back, they don't speak the Indian accent. Some of them can live there for 20 years. They don't speak the Indian accent. But when we go to America for 2 days, we speak American English. It's part of the dominance. And so far as these things are on our mind, they place a limit on our momentum. They place a limit on our peace. They place a huge limit on our vision. How far, how deep, how successful we want to be. These things, they are dragging forces. The hegemony from the culture, from the education that we met, from the colonial system that we met, from the religion. You see the way we give attention to a foreigner who comes here, especially if they are fair. We want to open doors for them and be so much humane to them. Do we have to hate them? Not at all. But there's something in our programming that we're still finding it difficult to know, that we are quick to open. You see the minister, the way he will laugh when a foreigner comes to his office. But the same minister will not have the promptness and the quickness of decision when something affects his own people. Is it because the minister is bad? No, it's because of the programming. He's been programmed to see a world from that, and to even make choices that he is at default. He is not even aware. The same. I'm part of it. I'm coming from the same kind of thing. You see how we quickly and promptly not deal with the inefficiencies in our system, and we proudly take advantage of them. Cut corners and be proud of it. Cheat and be proud of it. Do a lot of deals and be proud of it. And not even link them to our inability to develop better systems and structures to help us to develop. It's part of the hegemony. Do you see how we're able to put up with inefficiencies and poor finishing? And we don't even call for higher standards. And if you see anybody call for that, it means that he's likely not coming from this culture. It's the hegemony. It's the hegemony. Now, my intention is not to blame. Never. It takes years for nations to civilize. It takes years for nations to develop. And particularly for the Africans, the way they were destroyed, and they continually being destroyed. It will take a longer. You see, the physical infrastructure that we have, they're just evident, or they are the evidences that we see of our mental infrastructure. So when you see the waste, when you hear a lot of the noise, that's the people who are not allowed to become and think for solutions. When you see a lot of things that we are not happy with in terms of development, in terms of our health systems, our food, our education, they just reflect the composite quality of thought that we have as a people. Does that mean that we are inferior? No. Far from it. We are not inferior. Some people will even say that we are cursed. No, we are not cursed. We just lack, or we just have later appreciations of the complexities of the systems that have come together, or the forces that have come together to produce this kind of Africans, and what they can do to solve their problems. Now the thing is that our status now benefit a lot of people, especially those who took control of us, and they still are taking control of us. Even China can call all African presidents and say that they should come to China. Oh, one country, put everybody together and say come. India even does the same thing. Put everybody together and say all of them come, and they all wear suit and tie and go. And when they go, they are begging for money that they have under their pillow. The same money they have, the same African presidents, a lot of them still billions, have a lot of money through all kind of ways. But when they go and they give them 20 million, they thank them as if they have never seen that before. Why did they behave like that? It's a program. And that program is coming from the colonial setup. It's coming from the kind of education they left us. It's coming from the kind of governance system that they have left us. And part of it is the religion that we inherited, or the ones that we are trying to do. And then part of it is the culture that we have left it, that we are not developing it. And so all these forces, they put a lot of pressure on the African. If you so much care about Africa, you see that you are burdened. That's why a lot of Africans don't even care. They don't worry about the problem again, because it's so much overwhelming. But nobody else will do it. We are the ones to do it. And we are the ones responsible. Now, we cannot cover it. You see, sometimes you have a pain, and you can take drug to just numb the pain, cover the pain, because it's so heavy. The pain is so heavy, so you do some things to just cover them, or we deny the existence of it. And part of the activities that we are doing to cover the pain, that pain is our struggles, our poverty, our slowness to development, where we are not even finding the path to our development, or we just hold here and tomorrow we hold here and we go to the World Bank, we will come here, where we have very few people who are worried about that. It's the pain that we are trying to cover. Now, even if you cover the pain, it will show in another form. And one of the forms that the pain is showing is where we're trying to do a lot of religiosity and superstition to cover the pain. That's why you can have people in church from Monday to Saturday. It's a pain. It's a lack. It's a frustration that we are trying to deal with, and we don't know what to do. So then we just call on God, and dance and dance and weep and dance and dance and weep and dance. And 20 years we still marking time or marching time. We're still where we are. It's on the treadmill. It's a pain that we are trying to cover. And one of the ways that we cover the pain is also in a lot of sports, especially the European sports, the football. The whole Africa has captured everybody. It's more powerful than the slavery. These people, we have problem with poverty, with mosquitoes. We are not producing the things that we need. And every week, if they are playing European football, all of us are thinking and clapping for Chelsea and Manchester United. I'm not saying we should not do them. I'm just saying that is a way of us covering, because we are just running away. It's like a father who can't take care of the home, and so he's boost. He's trying to act as if the problem is not there. So he's entertaining himself. But the reality is that the problem is still there. So you see all of us trying to just cover it. In the football, in entertainment. But the reality is that the pain is still there. The pain is there. So it's the African hegemony. We've been dominated. We've been forced. And we overwhelmed with their complexities. My name is Kwabena. Welcome if you just joined me. I'm talking about living in this hegemony as an African. And this hegemony is colonial, it's cultural, it's educational, it's religious. It can be a lot of things you can add. But how do you keep your peace as an individual? Keep your vision and keep your momentum in spite of all this. Because if you really think of Africa, if you really think of the next generation, if you really think of our continent, and with all the things that you hear, sometimes you can know that these people have been damaged. And it's a reality. Where a minister can steal a lot of money, millions, and go and put it in another country. Why does he look around? He goes to the market, he sees how the women are struggling. And sometimes they are even women. That's what amazes me. And he packs millions, go and put them somewhere. He's in a leadership position, he's hoarding money for himself. And he goes to his village, there's no hospital. He sees people sweat, people go to the farm with cutlass, weep, go and weed, sweat and come. They don't even have clothes. And he gets into a critical position. And he still steals the money. Nothing. You can't convince me that something better describes this kind of disposition, this kind of mental state, than the people who've been traumatized. And so we just think that they are wicked. No, they live in trauma. They live in trauma. We can deny that, but that's a fact. It's a fact, especially with the numbers that we have. The number of people who just get to any position and they just try to amass wealth for themselves. And they live oblivious from the pain of the people, of the masses. They don't even think twice. That listen, how people are struggling. We have gone through enough. Their mind is not stabilized. Why? It's coming from the same thing. And so they carry some degrees, so you think that they are sound. They are not. Because our choices bail us out. Our choices show that these are people who have been traumatized, who have been wounded, who have been disturbed, and who are living in it in a lie. And so we pay attention to things that will not solve our serious problems. We continue to pay attention to things that will not solve our problems. Or we give very little time to the things that will make us as a great people. And so you see Britain, you see America, they still live like they live on this continent or on this earth as if we came and we are their children. You see the way the Western media projects Africa. They talk as if we are children, they are their children, as if we are not full humans. And they have to think for us. If you're thoughtful, these things should get your attention. And it's a system that we came to meet. Can we change it as quickly? I am not sure. But if you are aware, you will not be that much pained. You will not be that much frustrated. Because the thing is, because of these things, a lot of our intellectuals, a lot of so-called elites, they express it through inferiority complex. And that's why they continue to bash and dehumanize us as Africans. Our own Africans. When they get multinational companies that they work with, you see the way they work for acceptance. And nobody even wants to accept them. Because they describe you by the poverty from your continent. And they live in more pain than the very poor. I can tell you that. Africans who live like clones and trying to interpret everything as against us, they live in more pain, more frustration, because they have denied the programming. They have denied the situation. They have even lost their identity. They are pseudo-intellectuals, and they specialize in denigrating Africans, even though they are part of it. And so over the time, you see they are the ones coming up with all kind of research to support the World Bank and the IMF and the World Health Organization and WHO, and why Africa is going to go to another trauma. Of course, if you don't do anything about it, Africa will continue to be like this. It is not going to change just because time is going. But they can't do that if they don't identify themselves. If we don't identify that, listen, we've been living this program. And that program is coming from the colonial. The colonial era. What they put in the system, that we have left it go. And they continue to go. What's the point? Where people who are very poor still spend millions to organize elections every 4 years. I can get it. 4 years. Every 4 years we spend millions. Yet children still go to school on the floor. They don't even have seats. And yet we pump so much. They say that the democracy is expensive. You see? Who told them that? Why can't you design a system that can suit your environment? Because you don't have much money. You have so many problems to solve. And the people who came to create a lot of these problems don't even own up anyway. The ones that they will own up are the ones that will not help them. That will help only their interests. The complexities, the structures that we came to meet, the humanity that they have destroyed, they will never own up. And there's no need for us to even wait for them to own up. And we don't have to even live in pain trying to blame everybody. We just have to understand the situation, look at the source, and correct it. But we cannot deny that something happened to Africa. If you deny that, you are shallow-minded. You can't deny that when they came to colonize and destroy a lot of people and took all the wealth away, and they develop out of that, who will not develop? If you had a lot of people, millions of people working for you for 300 years, and you took a lot of wealth from here, who will not develop like that? It's not because they were so much intelligent. They are telling us they were so much intelligent. If you took about 60 million people over a span of, maybe, say, 300 years, and you took a lot of gold, a lot of diamond, a lot of timber, why would you not develop? And why would the other ones develop when they were that much destroyed? And then you left systems there that will perpetually make sure that they will never even lift themselves up. With a little education to even see the awareness of it. Is it to blame somebody? No, just to appreciate. Because if you go to the doctor and you say that you're sick, the doctor will not just prescribe any medicine for you. You know, he has to ask you questions. And when they're asking you questions, what are they trying to do? They are getting the historicity. You know, they are getting what happened so that they can identify it and prescribe something for you. Africans, a lot of them live in denial. They say that, oh, it's not important. Let's move on. How do you move on when you don't know what happened? So you study that and you know how they have programmed you. Then you can lift yourself up. Okay, so I don't think that Africa should ever blame themselves. Because the people who represent us, they are out of the same kind of problem as well. They are living the same education. The selfishness, the corruption, they just prove the people with a serious mental condition, which have to be looked at. Because I don't see why you should head any public institution. Where you come from a deep village, where you yourself, you are very poor. And you say now that you are a big man, which I don't know. And you have access to help your people. And you take those things for yourself. It means something happened to you. And a lot of them are even young men now. They see politics as an avenue to amass wealth for themselves. Some of them are religious leaders now. They see starting churches as a way to get livelihood and control people. One of the things that you are damaged is when you want to control everybody, because everybody has the right to live in freedom as you have. Everybody has the right to live in dignity as you have. So if you have not lived above the hegemony, you want to control. When you get little position, you want to live in power over everybody. It means that you are playing the same thing. So I want to wrap up. And so hegemony is influence, is domination of one group of culture over the other. And then it said that the one who has been dominated just have to look at life and look at the way the world operates from that culture. And they see it as the only standard of beauty, of excellence, of prosperity, of peace. So that they look down upon themselves. And that is what has happened to a lot of us, a lot of Africans. And then we just become insubordinate to that dominance. And we seem to believe in it. We cannot play that role continuously and still think that we will prosper. If we are insubordinate, if we are just subservient all our lives, if we still believe that we are subhumans, as some people want us to believe. Some of them are Africans. They want us to believe that because of the complexities and the problems that we continue to go through is a recycle, is a cycle that we continue to go through, means that something somewhere spiritually, something somewhere fundamentally, something somewhere is wrong with the African is scarce, the African is something like that. So it's not like that. It's just coming from a complex culture, which coming at people who have very little information to deal with those complex cultures. Because of the design of the education that they gave us, because of the unregulated culture that we left behind. We're still not developing the culture. We just bring everything down to the culture instead of us lifting the culture to meet the modern day. You know, so we've been wounded. That's true, and our choices show that. Been traumatized. We just deny them, but they are true. Go through any state, any city in Africa, go and see. It's not a blame. I just said that it's not a blame. So if you want to become successful in this kind of culture, if you want to become successful, build businesses, build organizations in this kind of culture, you must know that this is how the world sees you. And this is what you have come to meet. So you just have to keep your vision, keep your momentum, and keep your peace. We solve the problems, but we don't get frustrated by the problems. A friend of mine we were chatting, and he said that, do you know how much frustrating it is for some of those who travel to school somewhere to come back and get accepted into our environment to practice, whether as doctors, as pharmacists, or as engineers, or as lawyers? Do you know how much difficult it is and how much opposition that they tend to have? He said it, and I said yes. If you meet that, what's the problem? Because they are representing a system. You think that they will welcome you like that? Why should they? You have the same right as he is trying to preserve it, to change it. He thinks that he has the right to keep the system as it is so that it will run in his favor. You, being a Ghanaian, also have the same kind of right to change the system to work for everybody. And so when you come and they frustrate you, you have no excuse. You don't have to become impatient because they are frustrating you. You just have to fight, because the system will never change. Because they are working with a particular thinking. And you are also coming thinking that you're coming from a so-called an enlightened environment. So you think that you're better than them. And they are faster than you. No need to be frustrated. You just have to be patient and be committed to change something. Because they have known this for ages. And it's working for them. A lot of them even have companies and they share the contracts among themselves. They building houses. They never satisfied. Greedy, self-looking, inward-looking is only for themselves. They never think of their people because of the hegemony. What has pushed them to behave, condition that way. So you should never be frustrated. You just have to be committed to work to change it. This is the Africa that we have. This is the Africa that we have. So if somebody causes you frustration, just make sure or just agree that you have the same right to improve the system for everybody, as they think that they have the right to keep the system as it is for their benefit. But the thing about it is that a lot of us will just become so much pain and selfish and move on because they think that is for them. It is not for them. If you are better prepared, you understand the way they think. You understand what has made them to behave the way they behave, so that you will fight to change it. Because the natural tendency from everybody who is coming from this kind of hegemony, who has been affected by this kind, is that they become selfish, they become inward-looking, they don't care about another person, they have no value for human life, they enjoy the power and the prestige, and it's only about themselves and their children. They work with very little knowledge, and they are very much compromised in terms of character and values, and they think that they are very much connected and in what? In a system which is not helping everybody. Okay, so it is our duty to understand the complexities of what we came to meet, and then it's more importantly, it's our duty to improve it. One of the things about the world that we live in now, which is so good, is that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we could not use technology to share with anybody. The same technology that we are using to share the jokes and the comedy, I think the rest of the world could be doing that. I think Africa could be using it to close the knowledge gap. Because without the knowledge, others will continue to rule us. Others will continue to dominate us. The knowledge to lift our people. The knowledge to solve problems. The knowledge to go for the best. The knowledge to solve it for everybody. We should not let this time pass us, where we just use it for football entertainment. The young people can think differently, can think for the benefit of our continent, because we are the ones to lift our continent. You think the rest of the world cares about us? No. If they had another opportunity, they will recolonize Africa. If they have it, they will do it. Don't blink. If they have it again, they will do it. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you.